Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Better Workdays, the podcast where you get tips on how to create better workdays for yourself and the people around you. I'm Andy Morrison from Real Custom Training, where we deliver adult learning experiences that are relevant, engaging, actionable, and lasting. In other words, corporate training that actually doesn't suck. It's unbelievable. I know. If you're unfamiliar with us, and this is the first time you're hearing me claim that we do corporate training that doesn't suck, I know you don't believe me, and I'm not hurt by that. I don't blame you. You've probably been hurt by corporate training before, and for that, I'm sorry, and you have my empathy. And because I'm compassionate, I'm not just going to be empathetic towards you. I'm also going to try to help you by telling you corporate training doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to be boring. Learning doesn't occur when adults are bored. That's science, folks. That's some Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff right there. Maybe not astrophysics, but it's science nonetheless. The science behind adult learning shows they don't learn when they're bored. They just don't. Therefore, boring corporate training, it's not just a waste of time, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of organizational resources. It's just a waste in a lot of different ways. A well-intentioned waste. But if you're going to do corporate training, you've got to get together with a company like Real Custom Training that understands in order for adults to learn, the experience needs to be relevant to them. It needs to be engaging. It needs to be actionable. You got to be giving them stuff they can take right back to work and put into action. And it's got to be lasting. What do we mean when we say adult learning needs to be lasting? It means it needs to have an effect on their behavior in a lasting way. Learning only occurs when there's a lasting behavioral change. So when you send people to boring corporate training and they come back and they say, I don't know, I get the slides were good. I don't know what to do with any of this stuff, but sure, that was a waste. That was a waste. That is not a lasting learning experience, and it wasn't a wise investment. Real Custom Training, you get a lasting learning experience, and that's not just my take. Our customers will tell you that too. Now, part of making sure that our programs have a lasting effect on the folks who take them is helping those people develop a growth mindset. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about 5 growth mindset mantras. So if you're familiar with growth mindset, especially if you are someone's boss and you want to make sure that you're the type of boss who's promoting growth mindset, this episode is for you. If you're an individual contributor who doesn't know much about growth mindset, you're going to get a lot out of this episode too. I'm going to look at it mostly from the boss's perspective. But if you're new to growth mindset, stick with us. I'm going to give you an introductory explanation of it, enough for you to be able to hang in there and get a lot out of this episode. And then I want you to go back and watch our prior episodes on growth mindset, and you'll learn even more about why it is such an essential skill for people to develop when you're pursuing any type of personal or professional development. Anytime you're trying to get better at something, you're not going to get better at it if you don't have a growth mindset. Now, 5 growth mindset mantras. Why do I want to give you mantras for growth mindset? Well, if you're a boss who's already familiar with growth mindset, then I want you to keep these mantras in mind because I guess because I'm an egomaniac and mantras have been helping me lately. And I basically just want to talk about how this has been helping me. No, that's my very cynical side talking. But I am going to talk to you about how mantras have been helping me, because what I like about mantras, quick phrases, easy to remember, that you can recite to yourself in certain situations, in certain contexts. These growth mindset mantras help me throughout my personal and my professional life, and when I'm working with students at Real Custom Training. Simple things I can say to myself to kind of ground myself and make sure, yes, I am thinking about and approaching this with a growth mindset. So I'm hoping that these mantras, which have been helpful to me and which have been helpful to some of the other people that have taken programs at Real Custom Training, my intent is that they help you out as well today. So let's get right into it. 5 growth mindset mantras for you. All right, I'm using Canva today, everybody. I usually am a PowerPoint guy, but I don't know. I was feeling saucy today, and I decided I'm going to use Canva to present. Now, let me show you a big part of why I really like Canva. Are you watching? All right, if you're listening to this episode, drop everything, run to the YouTube stream because you want to see what's about to happen. Watch this transition. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. One more time. Oh, my goodness. I got to do it three times. Ooh. Look at those colors swipe in. What a transition. I mean, I know you could do that in PowerPoint, but I just don't know really how to. But in Canva, wow. And look at that. They're branded as well, everybody. Those are the Real Custom Training. That's the official branded palette of colors for Real Custom Training. So, fixed versus growth mindset. In a nutshell, let me try to do this as succinctly as possible. This will be a good challenge for me. It's a big part of growth mindset, embracing challenge. And I'm a talker, so it's always challenging when I try to be succinct. Fixed mindset means that you believe basic qualities are set in stone when you're born. Meaning, you're born and you've got a certain capacity for intelligence, a certain capacity for outgoingness, a certain capacity for friendliness, for shyness, the innate things that we think of about ourselves, our personality and our skills, what we're able to do. We'll call those qualities and abilities. Qualities, who you are, how you are, and abilities, what you're able to do. Fixed mindset tells you those qualities and abilities are set in stone. You can't do much to change them. In a lot of ways, if you're familiar with the show The Sopranos is about this question. Can Tony Soprano change? I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen The Sopranos, but that is the basic premise of it. And it's something we deal with in leadership development too. If people come and take a workshop with us, and let's say you come take a workshop with us and you're just a naturally shy person, or you're like me, you're a natural people pleaser. Then when you become a manager, all of a sudden you got to have difficult conversations. You got to be willing to have people get mad at you at times. That's part of being a boss, part of the burden of leadership. That goes against your grain. Your natural grain is to get along and go along to get along, or get along to go along, whatever the hell that phrase is. But now that you're a boss, you can't quite do that. Fixed mindset gets in our way because it starts telling us things like, you're too shy for this. You're not cut out to be a manager. You just don't have what it takes. That's fixed mindset. The notion that, people say leaders aren't made, they're born. No. You can be born with natural abilities and qualities that lend themselves well to leadership. Maybe you'll have a leg up. It'll come more naturally to you than to others, but it's not just something you're born with. You have to actually develop it. But fixed mindset would have you believe in, I can't develop these cherished qualities and abilities. The other side of that coin, the side of the coin that has been proven to help people thrive more than the fixed mindset, is the growth mindset. Growth mindset is the belief that cherished qualities and abilities are not set in stone and that we can actually do something about them. And I have 5 mantras for you that are going to help you keep this concept in mind as you're dealing with employees on certain issues. So the first mantra I want you to keep in mind, when you're talking to an employee about their performance, about their ability, about their capacity to get stuff done, I want you to keep this mantra in mind. Ooh, there's that swipe again. Abilities can be developed. Remind yourself of that, especially when you're frustrated with an employee. When someone just doesn't seem to know how to do something that you just assumed, maybe someone their age with their experience would know how to do, you got to remind yourself, all right, they don't know how to do it yet, but they can develop that ability. And this is important too, to remember when you're dealing with, let's say, that scenario I painted for you earlier, a manager who's naturally shy, naturally easygoing, naturally wants to get along with people. That manager, if they're having trouble having difficult conversations with employees, giving critical, constructive feedback, breaking bad news to employees, things like that, it is vital that you believe they can develop those abilities. Those abilities aren't coming naturally to them. They may fall into the fixed mindset thinking of, I just don't have it. I'm not cut out for this. You got to be the champion for the idea that, no. I get it. Those abilities don't come naturally to you. They're tough for you, but you can develop them. They can be developed. Abilities can be developed. That's your first mantra. The next one, there's that swipe. I love it so much. Qualities can be developed. Now, this is a chicken or the egg thing. Which slide should come first? That qualities can be developed or that abilities can be developed? Let's go back to that shy manager who has to have these tough conversations for the first time in their career. That shy manager, if they're lacking in the ability to have difficult conversations, fixed mindset may be laying the blame at the feet of quality. Okay, so what's the tie between ability and quality? That person may be telling themselves, I cannot develop the ability to have difficult conversations because I naturally have the quality of shyness or easygoingness or affability or whatever it might be. So they're saying, because of this quality of mine, I can't develop this desired ability. And you need to remember, qualities can be developed too. And it's a bit of a chicken or the egg. Which comes first? Do they get better at having those difficult conversations because they develop the quality of forthrightness? I'm not sure. It's, again, chicken or the egg. Or is it that they kind of don't focus on the quality and they just focus on the behavior? They do their best impression of a boss who's comfortable having difficult conversations, and they keep faking it till they make it. And then one day they realize, hold on a second. I've been faking it for so long. I'm not sure I'm faking it anymore. I may not be as shy. I may not be as conflict adverse as I used to be. I may have changed a quality about myself. That's what growth mindset can do for you. So you need to remember, as the boss, keep the mantra in mind. Anytime you're talking about abilities and reminding yourself and your employees, abilities can be developed. You got to remind yourself and remind them too. Qualities can be developed. Your third mantra to keep in mind as a boss talking to your employees, if you want to promote growth mindset with them, remember this: performance is process. Okay. We tend to look at performance and we're all about results. I did a prior episode on my kids. Oh, I'm not going to rip it down. You can see it up there, right? Let me check the stream real quick. Oh, no, you can't see it in this shot. Oh, darn. Hold on. Let me change the shot for you. Okay. You can see. I've got these coloring book pictures for my kids up in my office. And we did a whole episode where I showed you how I talked to my kindergarten age child about, it's a weird way to describe my kid. Like, this is my kindergarten age daughter. But where I showed how, the way I talked to her about her performance, the coloring of those pages, how the way I talked to her about it can promote growth mindset. And that's what I want you to do too. So keep this in mind. Performance is process. My daughter hands me these colored pages. I want to praise her performance because she did a good job. I could praise the result. I could just say, these look terrific, sweetie. Wow, these are awesome. Great job. Okay, I could do that. But I'm a growth mindset proponent, and I very strongly believe one of the best things I can do for my kids, for myself, for anybody is help them develop a growth mindset. So, I don't talk to my kids about my politics. I don't want to indoctrinate them in that way, but well, put it this way. I damn sure made sure that they like Batman. I made sure they like Lord of the Rings because I need them to like those things. I need it. Growth mindset equally. I don't feel like I'm indoctrinating them. I feel like it's the right thing to help people learn about. So with my kids, when they bring in the coloring, it's not about the result. I try to make it about the process. So that means when you're talking to a kid about the coloring, you're not just saying this is excellent. You're saying, how'd you do this? How did you get so good at coloring? Because I remember when you couldn't color in the lines to save your life. And now look at this. And I'll even get their old artwork and look at it side by side with them just to remind them this awesome result, this result that you generated. It was not an accident. And it was not because you were born with some innate talent and you're just lucky and fortunate enough to be able to do this. No, it's because you put the work in, you put the effort in, and you made adjustments as you went. You were willing to be bad at the beginning, and you embraced the fact that you were going to get better and better and better. And now look at the result that you got. You can take that philosophy, that framework that works with little kids, and you apply it to your employees as well. So when your employee's performance is stellar, you don't just say, hey, great job. You say, hey, great job. Tell me about how you did it. Tell me about the process behind that performance. Same thing when they're not getting the result that they need to get. When you've got to talk to them and give them constructive feedback about their performance, you also want to emphasize the process there. When a mistake gets made, what do? Do you talk about the mistake or do you talk about the steps that led up to the mistakes? Okay. That you should talk to them about performance in general, the same way you talk about mistakes, with emphasis on the process, because growth mindset is all about embracing process and knowing that by focusing on process, results will follow. When you chase results, you're less likely to get them. When you focus on process and systems and continuous improvement and chasing growth as your number one priority and learning as your number one priority, the results are going to follow. So just remember, performance is process. All right, we are cooking, folks. And you could probably hear I'm losing my voice because I've got a wicked, these spikes in temperature, they're out to get me. I got a sinus infection that made its way into my chest without asking permission. I would not have granted, I would have said, no, please. Like, I kind of need I need to be able to breathe right now. I've got quite a bit of bronchial obstruction. Bronchial obstruction. That might be a good band name. Anyway, your next growth mindset mantra. I like this one. Mistakes are must have. Keep that in mind when your employees screw up, because you don't need me to tell you they're going to screw up. I was going to be cheeky and be like, oh, I got news for you. They're going to make mistakes. But you know that, because that's another burden of leadership is people screw up. We all screw up. If people didn't screw up, you wouldn't need supervisors and managers. So mistakes are must haves, though. You got to think of them as must haves. And you need to encourage your employees to think of them the same way. Why is that? Growth mindset helps you approach mistakes as, it's cliche, but it helps you approach mistakes as learning opportunities. And when you're dedicated to growth and you're chasing learning and you're focused on process, then you know that the mistakes are actually the steps along the way. You know, the mistakes are hold on, I'm coming up with this on the fly. Does this metaphor make sense? Are mistakes the stepping stones on the path to success? Whoa, put that on LinkedIn now. Somebody make that meme. Someone's probably already said that before, but it's true. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true. Like, you got to have those mistakes if you're going to get any better. As a boss, you need your people to know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. That's called psychological safety. That's a big, we will do a whole episode on psychological safety, but in a nutshell, psychological safety is that people feel safe to make mistakes at work. Why do you need them to feel safe to make mistakes? Because everything everywhere is always changing faster and faster and faster. Everybody's got to be innovating. Everybody's got to be trying new things. Everybody's got to be seeking continuous improvement. You can't do any of that without messing up along the way. You simply can't. Now, if you ask your people to do that and they make a mistake, it's like whack-a-mole. If they pop up and you whack them with the hammer and they have any say in whether they pop up again, they're going to say, I'm all set with popping up because I get hit over the head with a hammer when I do. So next time they make a mistake, they're going to sweep it under the rug, or they're going to do everything they possibly can to make sure they're never in a position to make another mistake, which means they are not innovating on behalf of your organization. And it also means they're not growing and learning and getting better because they're avoiding mistakes. Growth mindset tells us you can't get better if you're not making mistakes. So as a boss, you need to remember, keep the mantra in mind. Mistakes are must-haves, and make sure your employees know they're expected to make mistakes. They are safe to make mistakes. The problem would be a lack of mistake on their part. Now, a key caveat to that real quick. Mistakes are must-haves. The same mistake over and over again is not a must-have. That's a non-negotiable, okay? So that's a growth mindset thing too. It's not an excuse to just keep making the same mistake over and over and every time say, hey, but it's a learning opportunity. Folks, no. You got to be doing your best to avoid recurring mistakes, okay? Growth mindset is not an excuse to say, hey, I can't ever do anything wrong because even when I get it wrong, I learned something. No. Don't make the same mistake over and over again. But if you want to help your employees avoid making the same mistake over and over again, they got to be comfortable talking to you about their mistakes. And you have to remember our other mantra, performance is a process. When you treat it that way, you're going to help them make fewer mistakes moving forward. And lastly today, what is the final mantra that I have for you for growth mindset to keep in mind? Well, if Canva would just get up here, I could show it to you. Here we go. Learn and help learn. I want you to keep this in mind. Learn and help learn. This is my personal value statement. Learn and help learn. I, like the participants in my workshops, occasionally do this exercise that is supposed to help you identify your core personal values. And I've been doing that exercise for like 4 years now. And it was not until recently, a couple months ago, that I actually feel like I realized what my core values are. Now, that's not to say that this exercise that we do with people is ineffective. It's not. But it is a good reminder that you can come to a workshop, you can take an assessment, you can do things to help figure out your core values and the like, but it may be a little while, maybe further along in your process that things really click into place for you. And for me personally, learn and help learn has given me all the benefits that they say you'll get when you really are able to identify your core values. Because now, any sticky situation I'm in, any challenging situation I'm in, anytime I find myself experiencing anxiety, which is often, I can remind myself, all right, what is the most important thing to me? Learn and help learn. That's what I feel like I'm on the planet to do. And if you only get one spin around, then I'm comfortable. I feel like, yep, this is a worthwhile thing to dedicate myself and my time to. And if I can do this, learn and help learn, it's going to help me. It's going to help other people. I've learned I cannot help other people if I'm not treating myself as well as I treat them. And at Real Custom Training, that's why we work so much with supervisors and managers on working on themselves too. You got to have self-compassion. You got to apply growth mindset to yourself. When you make a mistake, you got to be just as understanding as you are when your employees make a mistake. It cannot be a one-way street in any regard. It has to be two-way. So learn and help learn. You need to keep learning. I really do believe this. As a manager and as a boss, your number one job is to learn and help learn. There's stuff that you need to learn. There's stuff that your employees need to learn. You need to learn your stuff and you need to help them learn their stuff. And in doing so, you're going to be helping each other learn. So growth mindset, learn and help learn is actually, this phrasing is straight from Carol Dweck's book on mindset. This is at the core of growth mindset, where you're not necessarily trying to be the best. You're not necessarily trying to get accolades for yourself. You're not even so much worried about the result so much as knowing that you need to go out there and learn what you need to learn, and you need to help other people learn. And if you can focus on that, the results will follow. So as you're working with your employees, I want you to keep this mantra in mind: learn and help learn. That's what you're there to do. You're there to do that as the boss. You're there to help them learn, and you're there to learn yourself. And that means learning about them. It means learning skills that you need to learn. It means helping them learn about themselves, helping them learn about the organization. It's just, that is the job. That's leadership in 2025. Learn and help learn. Growth mindset and concepts like learn and help learn can help you be a great leader in 2025 in the modern workforce. So, 5 mantras for you. Abilities can be developed. Qualities can be developed. Performance is a process. Mistakes are a must-have. Learn and help learn. Commit those to memory. Keep them in mind. Use them to motivate yourself when you're talking to your employees about their performance, when you're talking to them about anything. And you will be a boss who promotes growth mindset. All right, that's it for, well, actually, no, this is a marathon episode. Hold on a second, folks. I forgot. I got something different I want to do for you this week. I want to share something else with you. The lesson on growth mindset's over. You get out of here if that's what you were here for. No, but if you want to see something else, I do have some, my podcast producer is an Australian gentleman. And they have so many sayings in Australia that we don't have in the States. And one of them I've noticed is shorthand for recommendations is recce's. You know, he'll often say, you got any recce's? So I got some recce's for you, everybody. All right, here's some recce's for you today. I want you to take a look at this YouTube page that I discovered yesterday. I loathe modern day algorithms on social media. I think algorithms and targeted content and AI have ruined the social media experience, except for when it totally makes that experience better, which is what happened to me yesterday, because the YouTube algorithm suggested this guy's videos to me. And I have never felt more like I've been seen in the world, where I started watching this guy's video and it was like, wow, did God make this just for me? Is this like, this is an, like, that's such an egotistical thing to say, but I loved it so much. And I know that there's people in my audience and people who will see this clip who will also love this guy. So here's the deal. Here's the deal, everybody. All right. I'll put it this way to you. If the name Tom Bombadil means anything to you, if I say Tom Bombadil and you go, if you get it, like, yeah, Tommy Bombadil, if that means anything to you, then you have to watch this. You have to know about this guy's page. So I don't even know this guy's name. Malcolm Guite, I believe is his name. I will put the link to his page so you can subscribe as I subscribed in the episode description. But I'm going to start Malcolm's video. And if you are someone who knows Tom Bombadil and you want some Tom Bombadil content, some Tolkien, some Lord of the Rings content, you have to know about this guy. Here we go.
Come in. Oh, hi. I just up myself. out enjoying one of the first spring-like days, but as putting this hat away with its feather, of course, put me in mind of a certain Tom Bombadil.
I think he's got whiskey on the mantle.
And I think I
look at this.
Read to you before on one of your earlier visits from the beautiful edition of the Tom Bombadil poems, the separate edition with the lovely illustrations from Pauline Baines.
Look at this. Is look at
but I don't think we've ever sat together and read and reflected on the moment when we meet Tom Bombadil first. I've got a blue jacket as well, but there we go.
He's dressed like Tom Bombadil.
We meet Tom Bombadil first in The Lord of the Rings. So I thought, well, that might be fun. Very dramatic moment, of course, because the two of the hobbits are being kind of swallowed up by Old Man Willow, and they've been in Fangorn Forest, which is... Now, I'll just get myself a drink. You might like one too. There's a bit of a tale here.
Oh, I love this guy. So, all right, let me jump ahead for you, because if you're still with me, then I know you're interested. You're here. So I don't need to worry about it. So let's jump ahead. So he's going to start. He starts reading. He sits and he reads Tolkien's work and
his own shrill voice. It was blown away from him by the willow wind and drowned in a clamor of leaves. As soon as the words left his mouth, he felt desperate, lost, and witless. And this is partly the magic of Old Man Willow. Suddenly, he stopped. There was an answer, or so he thought. But it seemed to come from behind him, away down the path, further back in the forest.
Oh, God, this guy's so, all right, that's all you need to see. Like I said, that either does it for you or it doesn't. And if it does it for you, then you love me so much right now for sharing that with you. That's a great recce. Like I said, I'll put the link to him in the page, but just beautiful. Here, let me tell you why I love that so much. Okay. I'm at this point, I'm always working on mental health, right? So it's like trying to get into meditation. And as I said to my therapist, I can't find any medication I've found plenty of medication. I can't find any meditation that's not corny as hell. Like, I don't need somebody breathing in my ears when they're telling me to breathe. I don't need to hear them breathe. It makes me want to jump out of my skin. I can't stand it. Content like this guy sitting there reading Tolkien to me, that is all the meditation I need. It's amazing. I love it so much. Great content. And I'm going to do more of this on Better Work Days. I want you to, if you're into this stuff, I want you to get some of the same benefits from these recce's that I'm getting, including sitting down and just being in a comfortable study, as he said, reading and reflecting on Tolkien's work with a man who it feels like you are sitting down with a hobbit to read Lord of the Rings. What could be better than that? Not much, folks. Not much. All right. I will see you next time on Better Work Days.